Hello, everybody. The weekend is almost over. Welcome to President's Day issue of Mornings with Michael for information and educational purposes only. It is your to do your own due diligence, but let's share our screen. Here's the heat map from Friday. Heat map was mainly chill in the tech sector. Most people were down. Applied Materials was up big on their earnings. We're not really going to look at the earnings from Friday today. So we're going to kind of skip that section as we have our PowerPoint presentation. And that is that. If you don't want to worry about ups and downs in the market, this annuity is right where I think 85 to 90% of people should be. Can see the index will float up and down. If you don't want to have something like the 2008 where the S&P 500 went down over 50%, this is where you may want to be. Goes up, does not come back down, you will not lose money, and it beats index investing by about 5%. And if you want to learn more about how it does this, feel free to get in contact with us. So that is that. Let's share our screen. Let's jump to the PowerPoint. It's currently showing the VIX. So here's the Dow Jones Industrial Average. We got what we look like a little bit of a spinning top, and we think this is going to go down right around 383.60. And you can see it's kind of hooking on the CCI. The stochastics is still going up slightly. Look at the IWM. Once again, we got a little bit of a spinning top here, shooting star, bearish harami, all mixed up in one. The volume is heading up on the selling, even though this is going up. The CCI is going down, the stochastics is going up, and the CCI is going down. So we have a little bit of divergence there. We have a 199.35 target, and the QQQ, as you can see, it has hit the 6 fan line. How these fan lines work, if goes above this fan line here, number 6, if it comes down, it's more likely come all the way down to the 5th fan line here. So we have a target of 409.60 here on this one. I'm not sure how long it's going to take to fill, but gap filled, and we have a bearish engulfing on the charts here. And here we got the S&P 500, got a bearish harami. Looking at this, it's going up slightly, and we got a hook on the CCI, so we're looking at a 493.60 on this. And then we'll take a look at the VIX. Now the VIX is inversely related. We got this gap down here. Think that the VIX is going to head up, and the S&P is going to go down. But if it does go down and fills this gap, it's definitely going to bounce. And at that point, the S&P 500 will turn tail. So that's how we look there. And now this is Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin is definitely going to run up to 460. Right now we got a hook on the CCI going down, and it looks like we got a slightly down angle on the stochastics as well. So it may pull back here. It may pull back up from 52 to 50 and then take off. But that's kind of where we feel it's going. Now this is a look at Super Microcomputer. It sold off, huge bearish harami, and it filled 2 gaps. We got gapped up here, and this looks like an exhaustion gap. It looks like a climax run, definitely. as it just kept going higher and higher and higher from 309 to 1,000, and then it sold off. The Russell 2000 is up 34 points for the year. Super Microcomputer accounts for 26 points of that, according to Jason Gepfert. Is a recession a natural outcome in the economic cycle? Well, all the people running for office that are in office will not be wanting to mention the R word at all, but a lot of things are pointing to that direction. The business cycle has 4 cycles. It has recession, trough, expansion, and peak. Recession, trough, expansion, and peak. And let's go to the next slide. The yield curve's utility lies not in forecasting recessions, but yet the yield curve has been inverted for the longest time without a recession happening. So it bears watching. And the default cycle has started. US speculative grade default rates in loans and high yield bonds has jumped up to 6% here. This is what has happened in last recessions. It started to move up and peak. This is around 2001. This is 2008. This is 2020. And here we are in 2024. Insiders seem to be selling out of the market, according to Game of Thrones. Corporate insider transaction ratio is up. It is just going off like a rocket ship, in between like 140 and 160. And also, Game of Thrones money supply yearly growth is shrinking. Annual growth in M2 money supply is really come down. And as we can see, here's the Great Depression in 1930s, where money supply really sank. And privately owned 1-unit housing units completed. The number of single family homes completed plunged to the lowest level since May of 2020. Here we go. Went from close to 1050 down to 857. Now we overlaid, this is an overlay by Bloomberg of S&P 500 now versus 1929. As you can see, it's been running up. As we looked last week, presidential cycles, the stocks seem to run up and do favorably. We'll just have to see if it falls off the cliff like it did in 1929. Here's a look at Cisco, comparing it to NVIDIA. Cisco being the blue line, ran all the way up here. This is NVIDIA. They're located not too far from one another down in Santa Clara and San Jose region. And we'll just have to wait and see. They have their earnings next week. Probably one of the most important earnings of the season. European economies face substantial recession risk, poll shows. Heavy US British bombing reported in Yemen's Houthi province. How will this affect moving forward? And the Houthis' devastating blackout plan, they want to target the key underwater internet cables and cut them off. That could be a shock to the market. Not, whether or not they're successful, it's important news to know out there what is possible. So that's the end of our PowerPoint presentation. Let's go to share the screen. Here's Advanced Micro Devices, still in a pretty tight consolidation right over here. Continue to watch that. Look at our dollar. Dollar tried to move higher and pulled back. Ethereum tried to move higher and pulled back on Friday. And Bitcoin kind of staying in the trading range. Let's see if I can bring up. They're currently doing today. So this is Bitcoin today. We got a little bit of a pullback, 0.38%. And Ethereum is up 2.79%, up $80 today. So we just kind of see that. Back to our screens. Find out what silver and gold. Silver continues its move up pretty strong there. Gets up to the 200-day moving average. So on this buy, it really hit bottom and then gapped up the next day, and it is continuing strong. Gold, not really doing too much. Tried to move up. They got a gap up and moved up. They're bumping their head on the 20-day moving average. Look at copper. Got a big move. Enero Copper continues that strong move above most of its moving averages. Still below the 200. Southern Copper reacting pretty much the same. We got two gap ups 2 days in a row. Freeport McMoran doing the same, two gap ups. Vale not doing as well. BHP in Australia got a gap up here. And finally Rio. Nice gap up there. And then kind of hit its head on the 50-day moving average. Here's a 10-year yields popping up 55 cents, up 1.3%. We'll just see if this is a peak or it's kind of really getting volatile, bouncing around. Big gap up. And the 20-year got a little bit of a gap up here, up to 3.5% interest. And we looked at all the indexes. So let's take a look at our ETFs. Financials got a little bit of a pullback after a big move. Energy tried to move higher, got a pullback. Here's US oil, continues to move higher. Now, trying to look at natural gas, trying to flatten out. We'll see if it's bottoming here. Communications with Google and Meta, just pulling back a little bit. Utilities, pretty flat. Real estate, hanging in there, right? Looks like got to bounce off its declining 10-day moving average. Biotech, this is pretty strong, actually. And the weaker one of the two is the IBB. It's looking pretty good right there. IGV software, it's got a little bit of a pullback here. Looks like, yeah, they've fill the gap now. Technology, got a nice pullback to the 20-day moving average. Infrastructure tried to move higher and then sold off. Semiconductors mostly pulled back except for Applied Materials. Got a big gap up and closed on a low. So earnings were up 5%. Surprise of almost 12%. Airlines kind of just stabilizing after they broke out at 1951. Out of the office. Let's see if they can fill this gap here. Industrials, a little bit of a pullback. Healthcare, definitely moving higher. Moving higher again. That's some pretty good volume 3 days in a row. And our consumer discretionary, kind of holding even there. Building materials, moving higher. Got a gap up 2 days in a row. Metals and mining, got a little bit of a pullback after it got up to its 50-day moving average. Home builders pulling back. And our triple FANG units tried to move higher and pull back to their 10-day moving average. So let's go take a look. What were the top? Up 3% with 50% increase in volume. Coinbase got a gap up on 142% earnings increase, 213% earnings surprise. We looked at Applied Materials, onto innovation, also in the semiconductor area. Looks like they gapped up and they're in the middle of their range. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days out of 6 out of 9 days. We got some pretty strong volume. On to innovation. And it looks like we just broke out of this little consolidation here. EPAM Systems, IT and lifecycle software. Looks like they're trying to break out, up 3.58%. Earnings came in negative 6%, although was almost 10% earnings surprise. We continued in the food area. Texas Roadhouse, big gap up 21% on earnings. And this was only a 1.42% earnings surprise, up 10% on the day. Rev Group, distribute vehicles, Vulcan Materials, got a big gap up on 35% earnings increase. Eli Lilly continues its strong run. Camtech, Israel maker of optical inspection systems, earnings in 1 day. Kinsale Capital Group, big gap up, 49% earnings increase. They pop over 500. And the Trade Desk, yes, this was one of the holdings that we had in another account, actually for my wife. It's up a little over 17%. And look at what's up 5% or more. Holo Microcloud continues up. We saw it pop up over here. Got a little bit of a pullback, pop up again. Slight pullback, and now it's really jumped up 114%. I think, let's see, we missed a couple up here. Anaptys Bio gapping up 5%, massive volume. Atour Lifestyle Holdings gapping up. Their earnings are up for 38 days. Chinese-based company, franchise hotel operator. Chef's Warehouse. So a lot of food items seem to be holding great, up 2%. Looked at Coin. Dave continues to be on this list. It is just rocketing up. It's definitely doubled in value. This might be a high type flag now. Here's a flag. We'll see if it kind of drifts. Develops financial management application to predict expenses and overall overdraft fees. MicroCloud we saw. We just looked at this. We just looked at Kinsale. Mercury General. Automotive insurance. Moving up. Their earnings came in at 179%. Children's Place. Not going to go through all 27 names. Pubmatic, a recent IPO. Looks like they're getting ready to break out. Shockwave Medical continues to thrive. Their earnings are up 3%, big gap up. SpringWorks Therapeutics. Toast is another holding that we had in my wife's account, gapping up and closed on the high, nearly 17%. And now finally we go to what's up 10% and 200% increase in volume. This is where professional money managers are moving their money today. And the only one that we haven't looked at is PRA Group, gapping up 14.24%. So that's kind of a look there. We'll take a look at what Kava is doing. Kava is pulling back slightly, up 0.13% over the weekend. I added 1,000 shares, price of 49, kind of executed on an option that I bought back over here after it pulled back to its 10-day moving average. So its earnings are in 8 days. So what do you do when, this is our educational area, what do you do when you make a buy and it pulls back? Where do you sell? Well, this is all about financial management. You want to keep your losses low. If you can keep them 2 to 3%, at the maximum it would be 8. But and you can put on stop losses. Now, every now and then there's going to be a loss on earnings that you can't predict, that it could be down 20%. That's why you want to keep your losses really low on entry. If after a week the stock hasn't moved, you might want to consider selling, because you want, when you buy these things, for things to move. This is why you buy on breakouts. Take a look at the weekly average here. This would be a breakout here. What you do is you just kind of draw the line. It breaks above this line. That's when you want to buy. And you can put these things on your watch list and get an email when they break out above that, or you can just put a buy stop at that point on your trading area. And then at the same time that you buy, just see if I can bring this up. share the screen. So this is Tesla, and you click on the buy, can buy custom, can buy either with a stop or with the OCO bracket. You want to, this is saying you want to buy at the limit, 199.52. And you have a stop. You don't want it to go lower than 198.52. So it gets you out there. And I guess this would be the other sell. You can change this if you buy it at 199.52, saying you could sell it at 252, a $1 price gain, or be stopped out at 198.52. So you need to find out what your percentages are and enter them at this point, and then you can just confirm and send. I guess I'm just not reconnected. I got disconnected here, but that's kind of a little sample of what you want to do. So we've gone over before, you want to keep your losses low. If you can sell at 20 to 25% and keep your losses between 3 and 5%, you're going to make money. Even if you are wrong, say 5 out of 7, 7 out of 10 times, you're still going to make money. And so when you trade on the high side, you may want to take a quarter or a third off of anything once it gets 20 to 25% in gain. Keep your losses from 3 to 5% at the maximum. And if it goes up another 10% from this 25%, say to 35%, you can take another quarter off, and you could kind of let the rest run. If it comes back on a strong move on volume on 12% from the high, I'd suggest that maybe you just want to get out of that for the time being completely, and then just kind of watch it. But that's my suggestion on buying and selling. Hope everybody has a great weekend. This wraps up Mornings with Michael weekend update edition. We all look forward to seeing you tomorrow when the markets are once again live. Have a great week. Keep going out there and working on your goals and your activities. And if you have any financial goals or activities, please feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to help you.